Hey there, welcome everybody to the Games of Canada, and welcome to my car. It's completing a little road trip here for Victoria Day weekend, or Memorial Day weekend, as you would call it in the States. And yeah, happy to have you along as we drive back home. I took a little drive to Edmonton today, and I didn't really do much there. It's just, well, truth be told, I just needed a break. It's been a rough month. As you know, my uncle passed away last month, or a couple weeks ago, I should say. And I want to thank those of you who did comment with your sympathies. I very much appreciate that. And on top of that, it's had some trouble with my car here, but it's all fixed up. It cost me like $600. And I'm pretty sure the mechanic kind of screwed me, but yeah, I'm working on that. I don't want to say who I did it with because I don't want any legal ramifications, but I'm working on it. Also having some, you probably noticed I've been doing a lot more recordings with my phone or just not featuring myself at all in videos, and the reason for that is because having some trouble with my computer. If there's any techies out there, might be able to offer some suggestions on it. It's this problem where none of my ports are working. So like I plug in a hard drive, nothing. And the only thing that does seem to work through USB drives is my external fan, which the computer doesn't really need to detect that. It's just a power source is all it needs. And so yeah, and then on top of that, trying to figure out some vacation stuff, because I've got my parents who want me to go back to Newfoundland, and my brother's getting married in September. There's no way I'm going to be able to get the time to do both, especially since I already took some bereavement leave for my uncle. So I'd really be pushing my luck if I asked for more than like a week at this point. So yeah, a lot going on. But happy to have you along on this little road trip here. In fact, go ahead and let's help yourself. Some pizza. There, I picked up from 7-Eleven. It's actually really good. And there's a Dr. Pepper for you. Yeah, sorry if it's not cold. I've been sitting there for a while. Well, I'm good with my iced coffee. And while we head back home, let's talk about this month's edition of the Games of Canada, where we're going to be looking at a kids' game show. And thanks to Cindy for pointing out to me that this is now on YouTube. This is a show I've been wanting to check out for a while since I heard about it. This is a kids' animal-themed quizzer that it barely made a blip on the radar, and it served as the first major gig, if you want to call it a major gig, a lesser known kids game show on YTV, a major gig, for a guy who ended up having another influence on a forgettable Canadian game show, but has since turned in a pretty solid career as an actor. And of course, the man I'm talking about is Neil Crone, who hosted this week's show, this month's show, I should say, Wild Guess. Wild Guess was a short-lived children's educational game show that ran on YTV, where it lasted for about a year. The host of the show is then unknown actor Neil Crone. Now, since the show, Neil has gone on to have a pretty extensive career as an actor and writer, and briefly served as a permanent panelist on The Next Line. But this was his first big gig. That is, if you want to call a largely forgotten about kids show a big gig. And unfortunately, Neil just really doesn't add much to the proceedings. He doesn't show much enthusiasm, and when he does, it comes across as fake, and he doesn't interact well with the kids. It seems like he would rather just keep the game moving. However, he does interact well with his two co-hosts, so to speak, or team teamers, made up of actress Linda Very and future Love Me Not co-host Marilyn Smith. But of course, neither one of them are really needed, but I'll get into that. The game is essentially an animal-themed quizzer, an educational game. The show features two teams of kids, each made up of usually a boy and a girl, and the team tamer of either Linda or Marilyn, who will basically serve as the team spokesperson. And like I hinted at before, they're not really needed here, the kids could easily be speaking for themselves. In each game, 6 categories are played: living proof, triviology, creature feature, Call of the Wild, catnips, and monkey business. The gimmick essentially goes down to this. A question is asked to a team, and they're given 4 possible answers. The team has 5 seconds to think of their answer, accompanied by think music that quickly gets annoying.
Whale? Is it the humpback whale? 1, 2, 3, or 4? What do you think, Aardvarks? It's up to you. Go ahead. For 30 points.
And if they're right, they score 30 points. If they're wrong, they may then elect to take a
wild guess! That's the name of the game. Okay.
And if they're right on the second try, they earn 20 points. However, the risk is if they're wrong a second time, their opponents get a free shot at it from the remaining 2 answers. And if they in turn are right, they score 10 points. This flips back and forth, typically 2 questions per category. The one exception being the catnips round, which consists of 2 toss-up, jump-in questions. And it's the only point in the show that really seems to move at that much of a pace. And unfortunately, they cut it short. The main reason here is it seems as if the game was more so meant to be an educational show versus a game, since after every single question, Neil will mention additional facts or throw in some jokes, and it just slows the game to a crawl. As far as the categories, well, they work as follows. Living Proof features 4 clips of a different animal. Neil gives a clue, and the contestants have to essentially figure out which one is the odd one out. Triviology usually involves more general knowledge or something specific about a given animal. Creature Feature involves Neil giving a series of clues and the contestants having to identify which of the 4 animals he's talking about. Call of the Wild has contestants having to identify an animal from its sound and clues given by Neil. I already mentioned it, catnips is a jump-in game, and the questions are more general knowledge. And the final category, monkey business, shows video clips of an animal doing an unusual looking activity, and the contestants have to figure out why they're doing that. And that's pretty much the whole show. At the end of the game, the team that has the most points wins the game and the day's grand prize. If there's a tie, then the game goes into a sudden death catnip question. Now, what kind of prizes do they get?
Our Wild Guess winners and team runners-up will each receive family passes to African Lion Safari. Thrill to the animal shows and safari through the exciting world of African wildlife. And family passes to Marineland Niagara Falls, where you will find a world of fun and entertainment. World famous for spectacular marine shows featuring killer whales, dolphins, and sea lions. In addition, our 2 team winners will each receive a set of hit sticks, a new electronic drum system that allows you to play them in the air. And Pictionary, charades with a difference. Guess words from another player's wild sketches to play this fun, fast game for 3 or more players. Our winners will also receive a limited edition VHS home video cassette of Baby Animals, an award-winning hour-long special by Keg Productions. The team players with the highest overall score at the end of our 26-week series will each receive a 1-week family vacation at Stanton House on beautiful Sparrow Lake, one of Canada's finest resorts, a vacation the entire family will enjoy. Yes!
Unfortunately, this is pretty typical of YTV at the time. Dirt cheap prizes. And it's especially weird that the prize package that both teams are going to get anyway is worth well more than the actual grand prize. So like I said, the game was clearly an afterthought. This is more meant to be an educational thing. And the kids are more there for bragging rights than anything. There's some cutesiness to some of it, but overall this just moves way too slow and too boring to keep an audience engaged, let alone a kid's audience. Neil tries to inject some humor into it, but he comes across as really fake. And you don't want that in a kid's show. If you're going to be a kid's show host, you either had to be genuine or you had to be able to fake it really, really well. And kids are tough critics. They're tough to fool. So Wild Guess was a very short-lived show. It was harmless in its design, but it didn't really do much to stand out. It was a pretty pedestrian quizzer. Neil Crone wasn't that great a host. And he had 2 extra personalities on there that weren't needed. So it just couldn't last. Anyway, I have just pulled in home. Thank you for hanging in there with me on this very long road trip. It is a little past the midnight hour. That's why it's so dark here. Here, maybe that's a little better. So I just gotta get everything out of the car here, and I'm gonna sleep very well tonight. I will see you next time on the Games of Canada. Long may your big jib draw. Become a Patreon backer at www.patreon.com/gameshowgumbo, or check out our website at www.gameshowgarbage.com. This has been an Impressive production.